Hey, oh, let's get that up there. There we go. What's going on, Zerilath, Eternal End? That was The Ruins of Beverast with Tempelschlaf. Well, actually, Tempelschlaf is the album. The song is Day of the Poacher. So I got a few songs here lined up and ready to rock and roll. I gave as much forethought to this stream as I could. I had a lot to do today because I had to change the tire on my car, and then I had to run a couple of errands, and I had a workout to do, and there's always dedication to meditation time, and man, oh man, oh man, the things that I can't, I don't even have time for excuses. I just have my day. So, it is Zerilath Eternal. And, I really have to, once I'm more on point with myself in what I want to hardcore accomplish musically, I'll be more like, oh man, when am I going to play my guitar again? Because I play my guitar all the time, but at the same time, I'm also working on, I'm trying to find the method that breaks whatever I consider to be my writer's block, and I've always hated being solo, and ultimately it would take me so long to figure out how to get my shit together solo, that I better get my shit together otherwise. So I was able to do all the things I could do today because I got my first unemployment check since things dried up, and I fixed my issue with the DOL. So now I'll be okay. I'll be fine. I'll be fine for a couple of weeks now if it stays this ugly. Let's do this thing. Excellent. Oops. That there. No sheep till Brooklyn. No, seriously though. Nor sheep with sneezing wood. What is it? Said Arhuna. In seaports there is to be found a kind of tree called Hainum, which produces sneezing wood, which, when held under a sheep's nose, produces sneezing, and while sneezing, such vermin as may have lodged in the sheep's head are expelled. If such be the case, may rams not go out with it either. For rams, sneezing wood is not used at all. They butt with their heads, therefore vermin drops out of its own accord. Okay. Sneezing such vermin. Right. So I remember we were reading up on this, and there was like the ram, but there's other animals that you don't have to do that for, is their whole point. Because the ram is a low to the ground animal, and kind of has a whole head forward kind of thing. So in short, his snout is often enough like this, and probably is getting a lot more pollen whiffings and has more of a sneezing habit, right? My iguana has a sneezing habit. It's a natural thing they do to expel salt deposits in their, I guess, in their respiratory systems. All right. So anyway, I think it was the difference between cows or something, maybe camels. But anyway, I'm trying to make sure I don't want to read over everything I've read over again. So, but I don't remember what I read over now. I should have looked at the end of the last episode. So let's just keep going. Nor the cow with the skin of the hedgehog, etc., to prevent leeches from sticking to the udder. Nor with the strap between the horns. Why not? Either in accordance with Rab, who forbids it at any rate, or in accordance with Samuel, who forbids it as an ornament. The cow of Eleazar be Azaria, etc., had he only one cow. Did not Rab or Yahuda in the name of Rab say that Eleazar be Azaria gave yearly as tithes from his herds as many as 12,000 calves? We have learned in a Boretha the cow in question was not his but a neighboring woman's. It is only ascribed to him because he did not protest against it. Remember, they care about this in this, like, it's such a, they're living in such it's a LARP. They're role playing, they're role playing the time in which they lived in such a way where they function like this. If you want to understand, like, sympathetic ritual magic here, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that because they are like this, it's doing this to us. But the people who, take from this and impose it on us through its proxy via a lot of it's in the political discourse more than it is in the law and such, right? Right? Democrats and Republicans are kind of like not the Essenes and the Zealots, but the politicians of the Essenes and the Zealots, or in many respects we could say like the various city governors of the state of Israel, right? Look at what's happened since I've read the Jewish War. Look at the behavior for Minnesota, right? You know, I'm on Nicole Good's side, but at the same time I'm against what Nicole Good stood for. But I am on her side because, not on her side for what she stood for, on her side for being within her rights. Right? She didn't deserve to die because the principle of the presence of the agent, not the officer, but the agent, because he's not a policeman, his arresting power is only to hand her over. I mean, there'd be federal charges and all that shit. Sure, maybe the FBI is a thing, but ICE himself? And all I'm asking is that the administration just fucking show us where their 10th Amendment is being respected. Show me where he is respecting their 10th Amendment. That's what I want to know. Where are you exercising your limitation of imposing on the nation state of Minnesota? All right, you gotta fucking, if you don't have you can't just fucking, like, criticize the fucking judges and act like that's fucking good enough. They're judges. If you don't have something on the fucking judge, then it's just fucking politics. And once again, now you've killed somebody for fucking politics. And, you know, this section of the fucking book is not telling me necessarily what every fucking, like, you know, imagine if they also had to mention with every single question the value of the sin offering, Imagine how long we'd fucking be here. All right. Rab Arhanina, Ar Jonathan, and Ar Yahabiba in the whole section of festivals where the four names stand together. Ar Jonathan must be read instead of Ar Johanan. All said, he who has the power to protest against the wrong in his house and does not do so is responsible for the transgressions of everyone in his house. In the city where his protest would be recognized, he is responsible for the transgression of every one of the inhabitants of the city. All right, you see that, like, look at how we see law being applied. Look at how the idea of the actions and reactions of the people to ice, and then the reaction of ice to the people that are engaged, that made their reaction was the choice to engage, right? Listen, man, like, people are within their rights, but also, you know, on the wise side, you know, it's just like you're leashed out in the realm of effect, right? This is why people had been talking fucking forever about triggerings, and I know you've been fucking gaslit. And it's really, really scary when somebody commits to the gaslighting. It's really fucked up scary. And there's a real wild way that the women do. Because of women's psychology. And there's nothing wrong with women's psychology, but people can become mentally ill, or at the very least be not allowed to be in a state of ease, right? People are largely torturing themselves. Like, I'm against what Nicole Good stands for, because look at her. She was not healthy looking. That's the problem. It's just like they're sadistically cheering the death of a mentally ill person of a kind heart who understands an evil. But they didn't understand it from me. They didn't understand it from Mark Passio. She would have had far more wit and wisdom going into the situation. I mean, maybe her intention was death by agent to cause this outrage. Because, it's a sacrifice she believed in. Now you're mocking her sacrifice. Of course you are. Because, you guys have been cruel since way before the sadism on the left really came out with the Charlie Kirk death. And it was so awful for everybody. Right? And it's just like we're both angry at the Mossad situation as much as we're angry at our own Americans because, just because this conversation had, major humanitarian problems for them, right? Because everything's humanitarian, and for good reason. What do we stand for? But at the same time, you got to stand for something that is immovable. Don't stand for something that's going to fall apart when you realize reality doesn't work the way that it does. I had to work really hard to figure out how I had this invisible inner foundation to my ontological certainty of my absolute I am, to be able to be even nearly prepared for what hit everybody. Whether it was how you felt about 2016 or how you felt about 2020. Anyway. So everyone in the city, right? So everybody is fucking culpable for the actions of one in the collective, right? Babylonian law, right? Everybody's been saying Trump is going to be some sort of Caesarian or Cyresian the Great type. Cyrus, right? King Cyrus, because Cyrus was like the best master the Jewish state ever had, right? The only evidence that Israel's ever existed was when Cyrus the Great was running Babylon, basically, or Sumer, or whatever the fuck. Not thinking about it that much right now, to be honest with you, right? But that's the only time they actually had this mythological place. This is a fucking LARP. The only evidence of his existence is probably evidence from that time. That then was taken for granted in the Roman times, which is why nobody talked about that much of it in that way. Right? And then they've had to fabricate all the places where the stuff they said the miracles happened went down, which they've been digging up places and saying, oh, that fits the bill, let's say it happened there. This is how they fucking planted the story of Auschwitz. They reframed the context of what was a deportation center behind enemy lines on the Eastern Front with communists that didn't care much for Jews either. Even though Jews were running them as well, but that is the irony on all sides. Because the people that are fighting in the Jewish war are the people that the Gentiles that follow as Goyim become. And they become these proxies of their ideological differences on that separation level of how they have their relationship through whether we're talking about Christianity, Islam, Eastern Orthodox Christianity, which is so like Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy, and Protestantism are so wildly fucking different. That but yet at the same time, so they're different expressions of the same frequency, and I don't mean that in a good way. Because I'm sorry, any good I see in out of the Abrahamic is coming from the goodness of people who don't know what they were born into or went into when they had enough of a certain amount of suffering. Right? Some people, they don't suffer. They watch other people suffer to the point where they want to go to church, seeing that much suffering in the world. And because, that's been a big part of why they've imploded all this stuff in liberalism and went hard on just exploiting the agenda, because the agenda is so wrapped up in the moral outrage in the war. And so the coolness of it is gone, and you've either gone into something wildly independent, like you've either gone into like just a new kind of weird atheism, you've gone into pagan occultism, like myself and many others, or occulted Christianity, where you're on your own kick of Christianity and it's mostly for the mystery, and just to have familiar guidances of wisdom and all that stuff, right? And I just want people to get to sources, is all I'm saying. So it's either that, like maybe I'm not even 100% sure at this point, but we see where they're going and what they're being, is my point. And if he is such a great man that his word would be respected in the world, he is punished for transgression of all. Mankind said, Arpapa and the exilarchs are punished for the sins of all Israel. As Hanina said, it is written, the Eternal will enter into judgment with the elders of his people and with the princes thereof. If the princes sinned, what have the elders to do with it? The intent is to say, because the elders did not protest against the princes, right? So we could look at Venezuela, for instance, right? Venezuela had been sinning hard against the American empire. Let's, if we want to play it that way, I mean, I don't know if what we call what we're fucking doing really, I guess it's empire stuff, but, hey, look, Greenland's already a colony. If you're not fighting for Greenland independence, then you're fighting for what's best for Greenland. And, the Greenlanders identify European, they identify Icelandically, right? And all I ask is that we don't take a big American cultural shit on their island nation, right? I would rather not just fucking take them. I'd rather, like, Puerto Rico never fucking stands up and says, hey, listen, let's make the deal to be a state, or, hey, we want to be an independent nation, we got X, Y, and Z thing, and, like, there'd not be a fight about it. It'd be like, can we be an independent nation? We got to trade, we're going to be capitalist. We still want your companies here, right? We want to make some of our own laws. We want to have a nice small navy. America, you've been good to us, but we want to grow. And if you're having an open fucking civil, conversation, you're talking, you bother to learn our language so everybody in America can understand you without 20 million interpreters, right? Or it's not that big of a deal because there's plenty of Puerto Rican American, Spanish speaking Americans that understand you loud and clear in your native tongue, including politicians. We got Marco Rubio, right? He Cuban American. You get my point, right? It's like literally nobody in the world wants to do these things. All right? So now the left is the left is both defended nationalism and imperialism in the same fucking month. It's kind of hysterical when you think about it, right? It's these polarity flips, right? It's just like we've been watching this new script of the universe since 2016 moving through here. It's been quite something. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. So it's been moving through this since 2016. As we've been watching these Essenes and these Zealots develop, right? And I could tell that I was surrounded by the Essene side of things before I knew what the heck I was looking at. But I was saying yeah, man, well, it was simple really because it's just the equivalency of conservative. So you're just linking the two together and watching the correlations and just, it's like, oh, fuck, man. Oh, shit. This makes sense, right? The young conservative who probably has a lot more in common with the young liberal, and they know that they have a lot in common. They're just lying to themselves about it, right? We know this because we're all speaking the same language. We both have social media histories that can be seen. We can both make determinations of, okay, is he just politically incorrect racist, or does he actually have dehumanizing, or does he actively work towards dehumanizing people? Right? There's those things in question. And I walk that dangerous line with the level of what the fuck when I read what the Jews are, what is read and written about the Jews. Right? It's just a what the fuck over people that, I don't know, like, it's a little scary giving certain people benefit of the doubt, right? You watch a lot of movies, a lot of horror movies and shit, where you give the guy the benefit of the doubt because he hits all the bells and whistles of being sorry and reformed, and you fucking missed the fact that it was all a fucking act. And you know, I've met people that fit the bill, and I've paid attention to that. And you know what? I checked the rule book. There's no rule that says you can't just fucking preemptively ditch on a guy that you could never fucking ask, is he a psychopath? But you just, to be safe. To be safe, you just fucking break contact. All right. So anyway, Maduro is paying for the sins of Venezuela's transgressions, is the point I was making in relation to this. As opposed to Minnesota is being punished as a whole for the actions of Nicole Good. But granted, you're seeing them in their simple, unified, our way, fuck the civil discourse and the parts of my argument in which I lost. I'm just going to assume that monstrous things are happening, and I'm not even going to go through the process of making sure the people that I'm doing this for are going to be okay. Because I'm a child having a temper tantrum who's playing street politics. That's you know, that's what it is. These people stopped learning a long time ago. They stopped learning. They get footnotes of the events of a particular story they follow, and that's about their extent of history. Listening to the footnotes fed to them by their trusted sources and assuming that they're not paltering anything or omitting anything, and that it's the whole truth and nothing but the truth, like a good boy says in court. Said it is written, the Eternal will enter into judgment with the elders of his people and with the princes thereof. Isaiah 3:14. If the princes sinned, what have the elders to do with it? The intent is to say, because the elders did not protest against the princes. Interesting. I'm going to look up Isaiah 3:14, but I'm going to take the break while I do it. And when we get back from the break, we're going to go over Isaiah 3:14. So the next song I am going to run, you know what? It's time to run this one because it said the Eternal will enter into judgment. So I will enter into a state of judgment. And I will play the band called The Eternal with Celestial Veil. So, all right. So in Isaiah, the eternal is actually Yahweh, right? All right. So I went back a little bit to find the context of the piece, and so I'm going to read verse 1 and then skip up to verse 14. So it says here, for behold, whoops. All right. There you go. For behold, the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, is taking away from Jerusalem and from Judah both stay and prop, every stay of bread and every stay of water. So this is, remember when we're talking about, oh my God, Trump's taking away their SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits, right? So this is happening to Jerusalem and from Judah. This is kind of a, we're talking about this is probably the conflict between the northern and southern kingdom. I'm not going to go look that up right now. But it would be related, at least attitude-wise. So there was something going on here, and this is probably a karmic justice thing, the Saturnian karmic justice, from an understanding in a pagan manner. So, and when they say the prop, it actually says over here, if you read in the breakdown, the mashon, which is, and staff. So it's a stay of the staff. So the prop, like the prop would be like it props you up. You hold your staff and you lean on it, right? And then the stay of bread and the stay of waters. So now we go back, and then there's a whole laundry list of different little grievances and grievances and stuff. So then here's 14. So then it goes, Yahweh, he shall enter into judgment with the elders of his people and its chiefs. It is you consume the vineyard. Pillage from the humble is in your houses. Yahweh, in judgment he shall enter with old ones of peoples of him and chiefs of him. And you consume the vineyard. Pillage of the humbled ones in houses of you. So Yahweh, he shall enter into judgment with the elders of his people and its chiefs. And so the way they said it here in this English translation of the Talmud is the Eternal will enter into judgment with the elders of his people and the princes thereof. So they went with the choice of saying the word princes. That's a big difference between a prince and a chief. Those are different kinds of systems. So this translation, and I'm talking about what we're getting out of, and the chiefs of him, the Ushri'u, a head person of any rank or class. King James Version is a captain that had rule, chief captain, general governor, keeper, lord, taskmaster, prince or principal, ruler, and steward. So a prince is included, but it's not limited to a prince. So, in other words, leading managers. You got the owner of the company who's held of highest liability, and then the chief delegators of that authority, right? A prince delegates the authority of the king. You know, the count delegates the economy of the emperor. Which begged me the question, is Count Orlok related to a king? He would have to be nephew. He would be the nephew of a king or emperor to be a count. Which would also make sense if he was born of one of the rabbis of that Bach Saga system. The hijacked rabbis after the Ragnarok. The name meant something different. All right. So, said it is written. Oh, let's go back to the book. Excuse me. Said it is written. Okay. I'm sorry. Read all that. It was because the elders did not protest against the princes, right? So that's all about. Hold on. The elders didn't protest, right? So, like, not even middle management stood up to the bosses that are held under normal authority. Like, you know, like, it is always understood in any government system that once you're in the executive, you have the same level of liability as any other executive. It doesn't matter if you're pharaoh, doesn't matter if you're king, if you're emperor, if you are president. It does matter if you're prime minister, because typically you're prime minister because you still have a kingdom. England. Want to talk about Canada? Everybody loves Canada. I'm sorry. I thought you were anti-colonial. Let's not fucking forget Canada is still a colony. It's still a fucking colony as a commonwealth. Fuck you, it's a colony. Last year, fucking Georgie fucking sat as the monarch and dictated foreign policy in Canada. All thanks to the tariffs. That forced Canada to do a little bit better. Forced it. Because if Trump didn't do the tariffs, you never would have seen that happen. They like to keep it low-key. England likes a soft touch with its Commonwealth. A very soft touch. The last time the monarch was there was Elizabeth, the last Elizabeth in the 70s. You can go watch that. That was all feminist bullshit. Like, I watched the whole thing. I was just like, it was effectively like all the feminism, all the feminism. It was like she was very proud of the progress of all the feminism, all the social welfare in Canada, and all that shit. Right? Ugh, don't get me started on that lady. Yehuda sat before Samuel when a woman came in complaining, and Samuel paid no attention to her. Said Yehuda, to him is master unaware of the passage. Whosoever stops his ears at cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself and not be heard. Proverbs 21:13. Wait a minute. Whoever stops his ears at cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself and not be heard. Stops his ears at the cry of the poor. Okay, yeah. If you're ignoring the cries of the poor, then he also shall cry himself and not be heard. Right. Okay, but will he become poor? Is master unaware of the passage? Whosoever stops his ears at a cry of the poor. I want to see what's going on with Proverbs on this one. I'm fascinated by this sentence. All right. We're only going to get so far today, I think. Proverbs. OT. Proverbs. 21. Where is it? Shoot, where'd it go? There's Isaiah 3. Where's Proverbs? There. Oh, Proverbs 21:13. Thank you. Okay. Whoever closes up his ears to the outcry of the poor one, when he himself also calls out, he shall not be answered. Right. Well, that doesn't mean don't close your ears to the poor. That just means don't complain when you're poor. That's all that means. It just means don't complain. That's it. That's fucking it. That is fucking it. It doesn't mean you're going to hell. It doesn't mean you owe anybody anything. But it also means that because you chose not to be charitable, you see, like, that is that's the reverse of the golden rule, right? That this is the shadow of the golden rule, in fact, right here. I would kind of, or at least it hints to that, right? If I was, Jesus trumping all those commandments, I'd be like, when you're an asshole and God doesn't answer your prayers, well, don't be an asshole, right? And it's very weird when you meet Jews that don't come from this approach of, it's like they'll be an asshole if they interpret their government that way, because they're just following the orders of their fucking government that they're LARPing. This is the whole bit that people have that issue with, where you have a Muslim population and then Sharia law becomes culturally fucking enacted. It's just like, look, I get it. About the whole, oh my God, they're going to get in with our, they're going to get consumed by our banks and be exploited. Okay. And I'd like to see, their people not suffer anymore. How about their people just not suffer anymore? Right? They're doing their bit. They've made ridiculous amounts of sacrifices. Their numbers grow. The situation in America is wildly different. And the people in our rebellion are mentally unwell. And the people like me have a very different idea of what anarchy is, because you're looking at it. It doesn't involve all that much violence. Only the threat of it. Anyway. One contracting ears of him from outcry of the poor one of, moreover he shall call, and not he shall be answered. Yeah, that's all pretty simple. This is kind of interesting. I want to go to the one just above it at 12. The righteous one is intelligent as the heart of the wicked man, overthrowing the wicked into evil. Well, that's a deceptive one. The righteous one is intelligent as to the heart. Let's see if it actually... One being intelligent, the righteous one to the house of the wicked man, subverting wicked ones to the evil. Well, this gets into the whole thing, is that, like, if I am of good and purity, I will win. That is a lie. That is a lie. You actually have to put the work in. You can't just be the good guy. You don't get plot armor. Like, this is saying plot armor. We reject plot armor in film because it's not relatable to reality. It'll destroy every satisfying story by taking out the meaning of events by contrivance. Right? Because unless... And even one being intelligent, righteous one is actually the way it's mishkil zitzdik. You see mishkil first and then zitzdik. Mishkil means one being intelligent. So it's actually one is intelligent, or the intelligent one is righteous. Now that makes more sense, just like the pagan way of saying that the more powerful one or the stronger one is the most righteous, right? This is a hardcore truth about, the moral standard of your Dasein is going to be defined by those of greater strength than you. And if that strength matches their will and their resolve, even if it's sloppy, ugly, and evil, it will prevail. And that is why ICE is prevailing. Because the other side doesn't want to be strong and resolved. They don't want to be intelligent. And so the only problem is, my only real problem is that they chose to be, they chose to put themselves in a situation so they could get someone killed. And the president considered that fine and acceptable duty to country. And now let's have some sympathy with some internal bleeding. Was the internal bleeding announced before or after he started asking for donation money from sociopaths and psychopaths? Let's get back to The Thing. All right. Samuel retorted, "Ingenious scholar, your headmaster," meaning himself, "is on safe ground, but our chief is responsible. Mar Ukba, being at the time chief of the judges, it was his affair, for it is written in Jeremiah 21:12, O house of David, thus hath said the Lord, exercise justice on every morning, and deliver him that is robbed out of the hand of the oppressor, lest my fury go forth like fire and burn, that none can quench it, because of the evil of your doings." That's the exercise the justice on every morning and deliver him that is robbed out of the hand of the oppressor. Right. Right. That's something that you would pump into the duty of a police officer, of your city guard. Said Zerah to Simon, let master reprove the Exilarch's retainers. He answered, they care not for me. Rejoined Arzera, even if they do not care, reprove them anyhow. For Araha be Hanina said, the Holy One, blessed be he, never issued a benevolent decree, which he subsequently reversed into malevolence, except in this sole instance, which is written in Ezekiel 9:41. And the Lord said unto him, pass through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and inscribe a mark upon the foreheads, etc. Okay, so that would be, is that beast markings? Thus said the Holy One, blessed be he, to Gabriel, go and set the mark, the Hebrew letter Tav, in ink upon the forehead of the righteous, that the angels of destruction have no power over them, and the same mark in blood upon the foreheads of the wicked, and the angels of destruction may have power over them. Okay, so either way, it's the mark of Tav. Let me see here. Let me take a look. Give me Tav. Give me Tav. It's giving me tablets. Haha, you're very funny. Okay, I have to say Hebrew. Ugh. It? It must be Tav or Tav. It's different in... Okay, so the Paleo Hebrew version, Hebrew letter Tav at the time of Ezekiel, looks a little bit like... It's kind of like it's almost like a tilted Nauthiz rune, except it's kind of got like except it's not like a straight, like, bar that's angled. It's got an angle, and then it's angles up like that a little bit. But the modern Tav actually kind of looks like the pi symbol, which I think... That's right. I think that's why they gave it. I think that's why the symbol for pi is what it is, because I think that's why. I think that was brought up in the movie. In was it called Pi? It was Aronofsky's first film, big hit. Let me just double check one more. Let me take a look here. Why are you doing this to me? No. That's not what I asked for. All right, one second. Just making sure I got that right. Got ta. Is that the same thing? Yeah, that's the same thing. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, so that's Tav. All right, cool. So we are, we're primed for the next break. So there was a whole lot of, that was a whole lot of looking stuff up instead of reading. We should get some more solid reading after we go through this next song. But you could kind of see how important that was. We're gonna do Creator. Creator dropped a new song. If any song is gonna give me an issue for copyright, tonight, it's going to be this one. Here is Crushers of the World. Alright, there we go. That was a good banger. Creator's classic. Let's carry on. Hold on a minute. Right. Where did I read? I read to here? Anyway. The master proved exultaners rejoined, right? Lord exercised justice on every morning, robbed out of his hand the oppressor, left the fury go forth. All right. Thus hath said the Lord, exercise justice on every morning, and deliver him that is robbed out of the hand of the oppressor, lest my fury go forth like fire and burn so much that I quench it, the evil of your doings. Right, so said our Zerilath to our Simon, let the master reprove the exilarch. So I guess we're down here. All right, yeah, we could prove them. I could have sworn I kept going. The party of the prosecution pleaded before him in these terms, Lord of the universe, what is the difference between the two? He answered, those are perfectly righteous, and these completely wicked. Again, the party of prosecution pleaded, Lord of the universe, it was in their power to protest against wickedness, and they did not. And the Lord answered, it is known to me that had they protested, their protest would have been of no avail. But they pleaded once more, Lord of the universe, it is known to thee, but was it known to them? And thus it is written, slay, utterly, old and young, both maids, little children, and women, and at my sanctuary shall ye begin. At my sanctuary shall ye begin. Oh, how Talmudic of you. That's what I'm talking about. Look at where we are. Look at where we are. Then they began with the old men who were before the house. And our Joseph taught, do not ready my sanctuary, but my sanctified, which means the men who have performed all the laws prescribed in the Torah, which begin with all the letters of the alphabet. And it is also written in Ibid 2, and behold, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate. Beside the copper altar was, beside the alphabet, and it was written, upper gate, copper altar. Time when it's written in a Solomon is the meaning of the... What? How did I lose this? And behold, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate. Behind the copper altar was then the copper altar at that time. Was it not hidden already in the time of Solomon? It means that the Holy One, blessed be he, told them they shall begin from the place where they used to sing hymns before him. And who are the 6 men? The messengers, said Arhista. Anger, wrath, rage, destruction, devastation, and ruin. So it's like, it's not just, go out and arrest these people, put them like, no, full fucking wrath of God projected. Become Jehovah enraged. Effectively, right? Get medieval on their asses. Right? Because you combine that statement with the prior statement about all the killing, all the people to be included, to slay utterly. Right? Now, because if you don't know what was going on here, you could apply any level of moral reasoning to this. What is the sin here? What were they doing precisely? I mean, like, are we to take it from the accounts of Ezekiel and then this is giving more context? Right? Like, this does not make the Old Testament look better. It does not. Anyway, right? Because you have to give the benefit of the doubt that it was something real evil. And you can be psyoped by the news into assuming real evil shit. Right? Why just the letter Tav? Said Arsamian B. Lakish. The Tav is the last letter on the seal of the Holy One. Blessed be he, for Arhanina said, the inscription on the seal of the Holy One, blessed be he, is Emeth, truth, and the last letter of the Hebrew word Emeth is Tav. Ah, okay, so that's just like when you're reading something in runic and you're also getting the energy, because like Odin is is Othal, Degas, Isa, Nothes, but Odin could also be Wotan, Wunyo, Othal, Tihwaz, Ansus, Nothes. Or it could be Odin, where you change Degas to Torisas, right? But typically Odin's name is rooted in Othal, right? Which is also why it's important to protect the integrity of the Othal rune. I do not have a problem with the Othal rune having the wings. I have a problem with the list runes. I don't like the aesthetic of the list runes anyway. And I don't need some modern guy with a socialist agenda in his occultism recreating the runes because they need to be what they became, right? And let's be honest, they did that so that way they could use it for military insigniations, right? And other paramilitary organizational insigniations. That's what they did all that for, right? That's where they were putting their magical inscriptions onto it, right? Keeping it with the military to be this pseudo thing that it was. It wasn't fucking pagan. It was just it had to have some paganism in it to get the people hooked. Just like certain pagan things have to be in Christianity anyway. This is why I keep telling people there's literally nothing to admire about the National Socialist Party of Germany. National Socialist People's Party of Germany, whichever one the fucking was. There were there was a National Capitalist Party in Germany. A way better party, a party that probably would have been a good ally to a whole lot of people. I don't know where the fuck they stood on the Jews and Jewish banking, but I'm sure it was somewhere far more humane than the Nazis were. And I still say the Holocaust was caused by the war and not by deliberate German cruelty, because honestly, I think that makes more sense than just saying the Nuremberg Codes were a lie. The Nuremberg Codes were a lie. It was a big public thing. Everybody knew what it was and what they were doing, and it was assumed that that's all that it was. Nobody looked at anybody and saw the Germans deporting Jews to Palestine and said, no, they're not sending them to Palestine. Right? Nobody thought that. In fact, it was the exact opposite is what people thought. They just blamed the failures of the Germans to beat the Soviet Union, and all the Eastern Front fucking concentration camps were all fucked up. The Western Front, I don't even think had that big of a problem, but I don't remember. Don't quote me on that. I may have just made an egregious error. But let's continue, and I did pull the book up, right? You guys can see what I'm reading? Yes, good. Already in this, okay, where was I? Utterly slay, devastation, ruin. Okay, why just the letter Tav? I'm sorry, that's right, we already went through that. Tav is the last letter, the Holy One, blessed be he. It is being evident from the verse Ezekiel 9:2 that Zekuth Eboth no longer existed. At what time shall we assume that it ceased? Said Rab, from the time of the prophet Hosea Birai, as it is written in Hosea 2:12. And no man will deliver her out of my hand, meaning that even the righteousness of the ancestors will be of no avail. Samuel said, from the time of King Chazael of Syria, as it is written in 2 Kings 13:23, and the Lord became gracious unto them, and had mercy on them, and turned his regard unto them, because of his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and would not destroy them, and he cast them out, and he cast them not off from his presence until now. Thus he will remember his covenant only until now, but not after that. R. Yaashua Levi said, from the time of Elijah the prophet, as it is written in 1 Kings 18:36, Elijah the prophet came near and said, O Lord God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Israel this day, let it be known that thou art God in Israel, etc., and means to infer that only this day the Lord will remember Zekoth Aboth, and not after this day. Yohanan says, from the time of Hezekiah the king, as it is written, Isaiah 9:6, to establish it and support it through justice and righteousness from henceforth and unto eternity, the zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this, implying that after the favors of the Lord will not be bestowed by virtue of Zekaboth Aboth, but through his zeal. Ar Amai said, death is the result of sin, and affliction the result of transgression. That's interesting that they are discriminating between transgression and sin here for these punishments. Death the result of sin, for it is written in Ezekiel 18:20, the soul that sins, it shall die, etc. Affliction the result of transgression, for it is written, Psalms LXXIX 33, dear fucking gird, and I will visit their transgressions with the lash, and their iniquity with stripes. Okay. But, what is a transgression? What is something that you're not going to kill him for? So let me see. I got to figure out what Psalm L bloody bloody blah 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 is. Go to Psalms. So it's got to be 100. 139, I want to say. I'm going to say 139. Let's see if I'm right. Have I... Okay, it's going to be 139. Whoops, 139.33. Uh... 139... There isn't a verse 33 and 139. Okay, it wasn't 139. Shoot. See, I thought triple X meant 30. And then IX would be 9. Let me try... Maybe try 129. See, I'm bad with large Roman numerals. I don't even know what Super Bowl it is anymore. Nope, that's a pretty small one. Darn it. IX must be 9. So what the fuck is LX? Oh wait, isn't LX like 40? Aren't like... Maybe it's 49. No, that doesn't get there. All right, I'm sorry, I can't find it. No, I can't. No, I'm going to find this. Give me a second. LXXX X. What is that? 89. Thank you. It's 89. Okay. Old Testament. Come on, where are we at? 89. There we go. 33. Yet I shall not withdraw my benignity from him, and I shall not be false in my faithfulness? What? What the hell has that got to do with anything? They're profane, transgressions. Okay, here's something on transgressions. Utterance of conveyances and not. I shall alter not lips. Oh, wait. Do these have omissions? Why are those there? Sorry, bear with me. And him. L of me, your father of me. Shall keep Aeon for him being faithful and covenant kindness. And the heavens, law of the sons of NSA, they are going into customs, they are profaning. Okay. For Eon I shall keep him, this is on 28, him, kindness of me and covenant of me, one being faithful to him. And I place for future seed of him and the throne of him as days of heaven. If they are forsaking sons of him, the law of me in a custom, not they are going. If statues of me they are profaning, and instructions of me they are not keeping, then here's where it is. And kindness of me not I shall annul from within him, and not I shall be false in faithfulness of me. I'm reading the very literal real fast here. Not I shall profane the covenant of me in utterance of lips, not I shall alter. I could have sworn that's where transgression pops up. Right, profane, no. All right, well, I'm sorry that went nowhere. That's silly. An objection was raised. One of the teachers said, the angels once said to the Holy One, blessed be he, Lord of the universe, why didst thou punish Adam with death? The Lord answered, because I gave him a light commandment, and he failed to observe it. Now, he spelled light, L-I-G-H-T. The angel again said unto him, why did Moses and Aaron die? Did they not observe all the laws of the Torah? And he answered, according to Ecclesiastes 9:2, the same fate befalls the righteous as the wicked. Hence, death is not the result of sin. He, Aramai, is in accordance with the Tana of the following Boretha. Simon B. Eleazar said, even the death of Moses and Aaron was the result of their sins. For it is written in Numbers 20:12, because you had no faith in me, and the interference thereof is, if they had faith, they would not have died. Okay, but Adam and Eve were put to the slow death of living life for failing to observe a light commandment. And you're telling me that Aaron and Moses were more righteous than Adam and Eve but because Adam and Eve did this one fucking thing, and as far as anybody knows, it's the only sin they ever did, which is the inherited sin of Aaron and fucking Moses and everybody fucking else in their fucking lore, but especially their kind. It doesn't make sense. Another objection was raised. There is a tradition only 4 men died in consequence of original sin. They are Benjamin ben Jacob, Amram the father of Moses, Jesse the father of David, and Kilab ben David. Whose opinion does this Boretha agree with? The Tana, who related the legend of the angels, holds the Moses and Aaron also died in consequence of original sin, so must be then in accordance with our Simeon be Eleazar, as said above. Thus, we see that although Moses and Aaron died on account of their own sins, still death without sin and affliction without transgression was possible, hence our Amy's theory is objected to. Our Samuel B. Nahmani, in the name of our Jonathan, said, whoever says that Reuben, the patriarch Jacob's son, sinned with his father's wife is in error, because it is written in Genesis 35:22, now the sons of Jacob were 12. This proves to us that they were all equal in righteousness. But what does the verse Ibid, which states that he did lie with Bilhah, etc., signify? That Reuben deranged his father's bed, and the scripture considers this equal to his having sinned with her. There is another Boretha, Simeon B. Elza said, the righteous man Reuben is innocent of the crime. The act with his father's wife was never consummated. As is it possible that a man whose descendants will stand on the Mount Ebal and proclaim, cursed be he who lies with his father's wife, Deuteronomy 27:20, could commit such a crime? But what does the above cited verse mean? He, Reuben, presented the injustice done his mother and said, when my mother's sister lived and proved a vexation to my mother, it was bearable, but to have my mother's sister lived and proved a vexation to my mother, it was bearable, but to have my mother's servant prove a vexation to her, this is unbearable. Therefore he removed the bed of Bilbah from his father's bedroom, which the verse holds tantamount to lying with her. Our Samuel B. Nameni, in the name of Arianathan, said, he who maintains that the sons of Eli have sinned is nothing but in error, as it is written in 1 Samuel 1:3, 2 sons, priests of the Lord, and if they would have sinned, the verse would not elevate them with such an honor. He holds the Rab theory further on. However, he differs from him concerning Hophni for the reason that he is mentioned together with Pinhas in the cited verse. Okay, we're going to take another break. Save that spot. Where are we at? All right. Let's see. It's been a lonely show tonight. I definitely, where am I? Where's my, no. Trying to find the, oh, it's over here, isn't it? There it is. Just want to double check. Yeah? That's interesting. Okay, there we go. We're good. All right, so this song is bonkers. This is Carrion Vale with Truth or Consequences. I like the intro and the outro on that song. It's like that really killer fucking song that's got the flamenco guitar bits in it from Eleganon. I think that's how you pronounce the name of that band. I've played that song on this channel. I think it might be on a couple of different streams. I use that one. So I really dig that sound sometimes. All right, let's go back in. We're getting close to the end of the chapter. I may go over 3 hours if it takes that long tonight, just because we're real close to the end of this chapter. I want to close this chapter out tonight. And Ab said, Pinhas did not sin as it is written, and Ahiah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, the son of Pinhas, son of Eli, was priest of the Lord of Shilah. 1 Samuel 14:3. Is it possible that the scriptures would describe minutely the pedigree of a sinner? Is it not written, the Lord will cut off unto the man that doeth this, son and grandson, etc. Malachi 2:12. That was explained to mean, if he be simply an Israelite, he shall have here no master among the teachers and no scholar among the disciples. And if he is a descendant of priests, he shall have no son who may bring the offering. From this we must conclude that Pinhas is innocent of guilt. Is it not written, however, sons of Belial, and thus Pinhas is included? It was because he should have protested against it, and he did not. The scriptures consider it as if he had also sinned. Why are we... Where does sons of Belial just fucking show up? Belial? By the way, Belial is part of the unholy trinity. Belial is kind of like the archdemon of lies, if you will. So he's your politicians, he's your lawyers and such. Right? Your media figures. And Mammon is he's kind of like the cruelest side of the Saturnian projection of El, if you will. That's going to be like Mammon, money and banking systems, and as well as mind control, and then kind of in general the Lord, or Baal, if you will. But it's their version of Moloch, I think, is what I remember. It was either, I think it was Moloch. This Trinity I understand from my colleague Bruce McDonald's book on the Babylonian demonology of the elites. The light of darkness. The Robert Wiegand story. I think that was his name. Go back and find my Bruce McDonald conversations, and you'll find the book. It's on Amazon. I'm surprised it's still on Amazon. Bruce is surprised it's still on Amazon. So, Malachi 2:12. Now I have to go to Malachi 2:12 because sons of Belial have been invoked. So Malachi 2, it's the last book in the I don't know if it's the last book chronologically in the story of the Jews. So it says, in my version, Yahweh shall cut off the man who is doing it. Hold on one second. Yahweh shall cut off the man who is doing it. The one rousing and the one responding from the tents of Jacob and from bringing close an approach present to Yahweh of hosts. Okay. He's doing her, responding. Okay. Let me see here. Judah is an aberrant, done in which loves. Father, did not one L create us? Oh, this is an interesting statement. So, have we not all one Father? Did not one L create us? For what reason are we dealing treachery, each with his brother, to profane the covenant of our fathers? They're only talking about their tribe. This is their henotheism coming out, right? They are one people, many tribes under L. Okay, moreover, I'm spies. I'm just seeing if I can figure out where Belial comes into this. That's all I'm looking for. The law, they shall seek from his mouth the message of Yahweh. My covenant is come alive. Law of the truth is in his mouth. Iniquity is found in his lips, and peace as we walked. Being turned many back from depravity. Those are all positive things. Become my covenant. Behold my rebuking. Oh my gosh. All the fucking negative language that comes out of this fucking God's mouth. Which doing your altar with no tears, lamentations, groanings, because I'm facing much approaching. Do onto the ground, and treachery, or she's pride. Saying, let me do a search. Let me see if the word Belial pops up. Because I'm not trying to look for the word Belial. I'm just trying to look for something. Alright, where are we here? It goes all the way to fucking Corinthians? Come on. Telling me there's nothing in Malachi. Where does he get Belial from? Is that literally it? In this translation of the Bible, in my inner scripture, it only pops up in one verse. There's only one verse with Belial in it. That's wild. I could have sworn Belial popped up a couple of times. I guess not. All right, hang on. Take a look at this. There we go. Take a look at this. So this is, now what agreement has Christ with Belial? Or what part a believer with an unbeliever? Okay. Of anointed together sounding yet any... Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. You don't read it backwards in Aramaic. Any yet together sounding of anointed towards Belial or Beliar. Let me get this word. Of Hebrew origin, worthlessness, Belial as an epitaph of Satan. Right. So yeah, they're referring to well, it's a certain kind of Babylonian demon. Okay? Or any portion to one believing with one unbelieving, which is apistao. So this is coming from the prior sentence says, do not become diversely yoked with unbelievers? For what partnership have righteous and lawlessness? Or what communion has light with darkness? This is, know ye becoming different yokings to unbelieving ones, any for with having to just togetherness and to unlawness, or any communion to light toward darkness. And Ryan, and this is true across the board, right? That, you know, every culture kind of understands this. This is why we have certain ways we don't mix, right? And there's it is a little weird just because there's people that are very you know, there's people that, you know, they're not quote righteous people, but they're not bad people. You know, they may not do what you do, but they don't like, but there's a kind of person, you know, it's just like, it's like, I'm not trying to talk down to you if you're a fucking street rat. I'd rather hang out with the street rats. You know what I mean by street rat. And listen, if you're a cool punk, you know, some want to wear street rat with like pride. You know, it's just like, I'm not trying to insult you, but my point is, if you're street and you're not interested in, at the very least, temporarily costuming for an event, you know, or you don't even want to go. I don't know. My point is that, like, sometimes you're not comfortable with people that aren't like you and vice versa. And all that stuff kind of gets into the issues of, once again, with our deportation standards or sanctuary city situation, right? These internal turmoils coming from literal weakened states. So now what concurrence is a temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God, according as God said, that I will be making my home and will be walking in them, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. Right? Now, as a pagan, I don't believe in this relationship with God. So this is very important to understand. This is something I protest. I do not wish to be possessed by the Spirit of the Lord. Right? I do not need an archonic possession. I don't need one of his angels possessing me. I don't need one of his demons possessing me either. Because believe me, those are also his. The rebellion is not what you think. And there are two rebellions, and one of them is a psyop. For you are the temple, right? So, you know, but, you know, you are the temple, but that's the temple for your soul, and other gods are welcome, but pagan gods don't want to possess you. I'm going to remember this verse. I'm going to be like, when a Christian asks what's the difference, this is like, do you remember 2 Corinthians 6:16? Well, it's the second half of that verse, it's the opposite of that, right? We're not possessed by our gods. We invite them in, right? If I have the Odin frenzy come over me, I promise you it's because I invited it in. I am culpable for initiating the frenzy, and thus I am culpable for anything I do in the frenzy, even if I've lost my mind in the frenzy, because I've invited the frenzy. This is what the Ulfvednar The Ulfanar is supposed to have his wits about him, but, you know, the Berserker, well, you know, I think that there's dark Berserkers, right? Coming from a breakdown in the way we used to live, right? The Berserker had a very important role to play up until the medieval period, you know, and then the Battle of Stamford happened. That was it. You know, that's like your last samurai story for Viking mystical warriors, with a story of a true display of power, right? Because even though he died, he took out so many fucking dudes. It was the most unbelievable of things, right? No one could deny the level of fucking warrior, right? And because he was a bridge, you know, because like, and it was a great situation too, because there wasn't one person who died that day that didn't want to die that day. Nobody accidentally got sliced by this dude, because he just, like the Incredible Hulk, he just went Hulk on a bridge, you know, front towards enemy. Just go till you drop. Glorious, glorious ending to Valhalla. All right. So anyway, it's about the most I could extract out of that. Back to the book. Okay, so the Sons of Belial, right? And this is also sorry. So let's keep moving. So anyway, you get my point about the Sons of Belial. The Sons of Belial are very important. They're the Brotherhood of the Snake is another important one. The same said again, he who thinks the sons of Samuel sinned is also he who thinks the sons of Samuel sinned, is also in error. It is written, and they did not walk in his ways. 1 Samuel 8:3. True, they did not walk in his ways, but they sinned not. How then is the passage to be upheld? And they but turned aside after lucre and took bribes. Ibid. They did not act as their father, for Samuel the righteous traveled through all Israel and dispensed justice in every city, as it is written. And he went from year to year in circuit to Beth-el and Gilgal and Mitzvah, and judged Israel. Ibid 7:6. But they did not act in this way. They dwelt in their respective places in order to increase the fees of their messengers and scribes. On this point, the following Tanum differ. Armayer say, they who were Levites themselves claimed their priestly allowance personally, and thereby deprived the poor priests and Levites of their shares. For being also judged, they were never refused. Ar Yehuda said, they had commercial relations with private people and were sometimes compelled to pervert justice. Arakiba says, they took tithes to a greater extent than they were allowed to do. By force, Ardossi say, they took by force the priests' portions, shoulder blades, jowls, and stomachs of a slaughtered animal. Interesting, right? So they're talking about the problem where this guy, you know, he's a charlatan of some sort. He's a thief. He's not on the level. But is that just within Jews? If he does that to a Gentile? Is he just a goy that gets exploited? He said again, the same error is made concerning David, said Rab. Rabbi, who is a descendant of the house of David, endeavored to interpret favorably the passage, wherefore hast thou despised the word of the Lord to do what is evil in his eyes. 2 Samuel 12:9. He said, this evil deed is different in word and language from other evil deeds. Thereof mention is made in the scriptures. In all other instances it says, and he has done, but here it says to do. This implies that he wanted to do, but did not do. Uriah the Hittite thou hast slain with the sword. Ibid, as a rebel, he should have had him tried by the Sanhedrin, which he did not, and his wife thou hast taken to thee for a wife. He had a right to her, for Samuel b. Namani, in the name of Jonathan, said, whoever went to war with David divorced his wife previously. Him thou hast slain with the sword used for the children of Ammon. Which Ammon could also be low-key ripping off of, Kemet and Amun, who is a goat. Amun-Ra. I think Amun, like there's Ra and there's Amun-Ra, right? And I think Amun-Ra is the goat god, and then Ra is like the hawk god. As he will not be punished on account of the children of Ammon. So, will he also not be punished for the death of Uriah? What is the reason? He, Uriah, was a rebel. Said Rab, note well the life of David, and you find nothing blamable save the affair of Uriah, as it is written in 1 Kings 15:5, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. Abiah the elder has contracted the above statement of Rab from his own statement elsewhere, that David accepted slander. This difficulty remains. What was it? That which is written, 2 Samuel 9:4. And the king said unto him, where is he? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he is in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, in Lodabar? I don't know what that is. Father, on it is written Ibid 5, and David the king sent and had him taken out of the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lodabar. Thus, when David found him doing something good, whereas Ziba informed the king that he was doing nothing good. Hence David was convinced that Ziba was a liar. Why then did David give heed to his slander afterwards? For it is written in Ibid 16:3, and the king said, and where is the master's son? And Ziba said unto the king, behold, he remaineth at Jerusalem. For he said, today will the house of Israel restore unto me the kingdom of my father. But whence the adduction that David accepted slander? From what is written further, Ibid 4, then said the king to Ziba, behold, thine shall be all that pertaineth to Mephibosheth. And Ziba said, etc. Samuel said, David did not accept... Actually, hold on a second. I did all this. We're at 10:30, right? We've been talking a while. It's probably time for the next song, I think. How far back was it? Hold on a second. I gotta go and find out how long we've been doing this. Where are we here? All right. How long ago was the last break? Right, it was a while back. Hang on. Yeah, that was like back here. That's, it's not even telling me the time it was, but that was a while back. Yeah, that was quite a while back. Yeah, all right, it's time for the next break. All right, what do we got? It's, This band, okay, this is a gnarly little black metal band, blackened death metal from Greece called Phasma. What's the name of the song? Is it just... Seems like it's what, track 3? Is that what this is? I guess this is just Phasma. And the song is just I. So it's like Phasma 3. So it's like the third track of Phasma. They're doing that whole thing where the songs don't have names. It's all part of like an album. All right, let's do it. All right, that ends really abruptly. I would have let that last note linger about 5 more seconds. It goes whoop, and I'm just like, eh, whoa, okay. Let's see here. Boom. So, Samuel said, David did not accept slander. He himself saw in Mephibosheth's conduct that which corroborated Ziba's calumny, as it is written in Ebed 19:25, and Mephibosheth, the grandson of Samuel, came down to meet the king, and he had not dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes. This was considered disrespectful. Further, it is written in Ibid 28 that he slandered thy servant unto my lord the king, etc. And further, Ibid 31, and Mephibosheth said unto the king, yeah, let him take the whole, since that my lord the king is come back in peace unto his own house. Now this last verse, read between the lines, really means I have anticipated your safe arrival home with anxiety, and since you act toward me in such manner, I have nothing to complain of to you, but to him who brought you safely back. Ar Yehuda in the name of Rab said, had David not given heed to slander, the kingdom of the house of David would never have been divided, neither would Israel have worshipped idols, nor we have been exiled from our land. Whatever. Gotcha. So, you know, there's all these contentions about, oh man, why did Israel fall, and yada yada yada, right? And you know, this is nonsense, right? This is a lesson, right? It's just like there wasn't a kingdom of Israel that fell, right? You're using the mythology of Israel to make a point about a good conduct and having unity in the kingdom and things like that, right? It's you know, it's a guideline for certain ways that you conduct yourself in a fascist monarchy, right? This is a what's the word? It's a theocratic monarchy. It's a fascist theocratic monarchy. It has to also be fascist because, as has been shown, there's a tremendous, a ridiculous, an absurd amount of human behavioral conditioning to go along with the laws of Babylon. And we talked about this, how it has to inherently be fascist. You don't pull this off without fascising. And the inherent unfreedom is here. Freedom is not in question. Like it's understood there is no, quote, freedom, right? What it is that, like, all of this is what you can't do, right? You're supposed to understand freedom because you're supposed to have laws that are simple and clear, and you just don't do those things. Like, they're holding on to a government they don't need. To hold on to moral values that, which in some cases would be criminal in our world, and in other cases would actually just simply be excessive. Like how we punish somebody for a transgression versus how they punish somebody for a transgression, for instance. Versus things that we look at, which is like, well, shit, I never want that to be a fucking transgression. Not any way like that. Jeez, that's fucking stupid and fucking frustrating, and who the fuck would live their life to remember that? And then look at the citation of some of the absurd fucking bases. Just from the bases that they know. Therefore, it must be said that it means his wives. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. The same rabbi said, he who believes Solomon guilty of idolatry is an error. This theory agrees with Nathan, who points to a contradiction between the two following passages in the very same verse. 1 Kings 11:4, and it came to pass at the time when Solomon was old that his wives turned away his heart, etc. And farther on, Ibid, it says, like the heart of David his father, while his heart was not as perfect as that of his father David, still he did not sin. Therefore it must be said that it means his wives turned away his heart toward idolatry. But still he did not practice it. This is supported by the following. Boretha Ardyosi said, it is written in 2 Kings 3:13, and the high places that were before Jerusalem, which were to the right of the Mount of Destruction, which Solomon the king of Israel had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, etc. Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians. That's interesting. Did I cover this word early on? I feel like this is the second time they've said Ashtoreth, because I remember talking about a word and thinking, that sounds like Astaroth. And then I might have looked it up. So I'm going to look it up again. Okay, Ashtoreth is a prominent ancient Near Eastern goddess associated with love, war, and fertility, worshipped primarily by the Canaanites and Phoenicians. She is often linked to male deity Baal and is mentioned in the Bible as a source of idolatry for the Israelites. Okay. Yeah. I think this is Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth is in fantasy. Ashtaroth's a male. It has nothing to do with consorting with Jewish stuff. But I think because of, like, when you're henotheistic, it's just like, false God doesn't mean that God is false. It means it is false in our laws to worship that God. And it means that because of everything that their followers are a problem for in your society. Right? Because that's going to be about their modus operandi, their behavior, how they carry their nervous system, how they feel about customs, how much of a nuisance they are to your customs. You know, the Jews have to have their fucking community, right? They got to have neighborhoods of Brooklyn so it's convenient for them to do their thing. And that, you know, and every one of these little, like, super stringent Sabbatean fucking followings. And I don't mean necessarily Frankish Sabbateans. I mean just like Sabbath, just following the Sabbath hardcore, like Talmudic Sabbath type people, I suppose. Maybe not even necessarily Hasidic, right? But, you know, these are little Babylons, different reflections, as you know, and aspects of a sub-government, sub-culture within these United States, walking the line, like Sharia law, crossing the line, or the manner in which Christians impose the gospel and the commandments, right? So Ashtoreth, it's entirely possible that there's nothing wrong with their goddess, but their people were corrupt. Because Ash can be like the Asir, and then Thor is pretty universal for certain things. Thor and Tor and Tyr and Jupiter, right? You know, so Ashtor, and then the Eth part. The Eth part, I don't know. Eth as a hold on a second. Let me see. Let me do Eth. Eth. Well, oh yeah. Well, Eth could possibly be aether, ethereal. Hold on a second. I'm going to try etymology online. I want to do this quickly. Okay, so Eth is the name of a Anglo-Saxon runic character. Oh, okay. That's the Eth is also the TH thing. It's that little squiggly D looking thing which has the dental kind of DTH sound. But that's only going back to 1846. Third person singular present indicative suffix of verbs representing S, Eth in Northumbrian 10C gradually spread south until Shakespeare's time. Colloquialism in Eth began to be limited to more dignified speeches. Okay. Okay, there's also oath. Oath. So the oath of Ashthor, one could possibly say. Third person singular present. Indicative suffix of verbs that represents Old English. Which began to replace Northumbrian tendency and gradually. I don't know. That's S. Okay. All right. Anyway, that's good enough. That's good enough. Let's keep going. It is possible that neither Asa nor Jehoshaphat had cleared them out before Josiah. Did not Asa and Jehoshaphat abolish idolatry in Judea? It follows then that as Josiah is given credibility by the verse in the scriptures for having abolished the worship of Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Zidonians, although at his time it had been out of existence for a long time. It's interesting how this said the full name and title twice. They could have just said Ashtoreth again without repeating the abomination of the Zidonians. Does that mean there is an Ashtoreth that wasn't? This was done merely because Josiah had abolished other later forms of idolatry. The same rule is followed in the case of Solomon. While he himself did not build the Ashtoreth of the Zidonians. While he himself didn't build the Ashtoreth of the Zidonians. You're not building a god, though. That's the thing. So it's a temple. It's a temple. The Ashtor would be the goddess, more so. And then the Ashtoreth would be like the place of worship, like a temple. That makes more sense to me. This is why we keep reading. We gain context. The fact that he did not prevent his wives from doing so makes him responsible in the same measure as if he had committed the deed himself. But Is it not written in 1 Kings 11:6, and Solomon did what is evil in the eyes of the Lord? This is also written merely because it was in his power to prevent the actions of his wives, and he did not do so. Hence the scripture ascribes the deed to him as if he himself had committed it. Said Ad Yehuda, in the name of Samuel, it would have been better for him, Solomon, to have been an actual hireling to idolatry than to be accused of doing what is evil in the eyes of the Lord. Again, Ad Yehuda said in Samuel's name, at the time Solomon took in wedlock the daughters of Pharaoh. She brought to him about 1,000 different musical instruments. Each of these was used for separate idols, which she named to him, and still he did not protest against it. The same said again in the name of the same authority. At the time Solomon took in wedlock Pharaoh's daughter, the angel Gabriel came down and planted a cane in the sea on the sand that accumulated around the cane. A great city was afterward built. But in a Boretha, we were taught that the miracle occurred on the day that Jeroboam, I don't know why I wouldn't just say Jeroboam, introduced the two golden calves, one each in Bethel and Dan, and that great city was Italia of Greece. Italia of Greece as opposed to Italy, right? So that's interesting. So, okay, the same said again, name of the same authority. At the same time, Solomon took in wedlock Pharaoh's daughter. The angel Gabriel came down and planted a cane in the sea on the sand that accumulated around the cane, a great city. Okay, he planted a cane in the sea. Gabriel came down, planted a cane in the sea on the sand that accumulated around the cane. A great city was afterwards built. But in a Boretha, we were taught that the miracle occurred on the day that Jeroboam introduced the two golden calves, one each in Bethel and Dan, and that great city was Italia. Wait, one each in Bethel and Dan, and that great city. You had two golden calves. How did you put two golden calves all in three cities at the same time? You see, that's poorly phrased. There's a lot of fucking poor phrasing in this very frustrating fucking necessary book to know. It's sucks that it's necessary to know this book because of the times we're living in. Because this is not a fun read. I hate this read. This is the best that the translator could do. The translators, it's okay. I don't blame you. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be literally Hebrew. I'm not even literally Old Norse yet. And I ought to be literally something else. But, oh, my left brain doesn't want to do that yet. So, the same said again in the name of the same authority at the time Solomon took in. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. Anyway. Oh, but that is so okay, here we are. We're at the bottom. Samuel said, whoever says Josiah sinned is also an error. It is written in 2 Kings 22:2, and he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and walked in the ways of David his father and turned not aside to the right or to the left. Is this not contradictory to verse in 2 Kings 23:25 that return to the Lord with all his heart? How is the return to be understood? He must have sinned in order to return. Nay, from this it must be inferred that after Josiah attained the age of 18, he refunded from his private purse all amounts paid by such as he had declared guilty bound to pay from the time he, misspelled, was 8 years old. When he became king, this is the interpretation of returned to the Lord. So, okay, that's interesting. So returning to the Lord has a debt payment angle to it, which is based on repaying a certain childhood debt by 8 years old, I guess, is the idea. Or by 18. So returning to the Lord just simply means you turned 18 and now are thus a man. Right? So, this puts the prodigal son story into its normal allegorical place that we understand as the coming of age story, as the becoming a man story. Right? By deeply wrapping manhood with finding your ability to walk in God's path. And that's what they're aiming for, right? To go out there, to get lost, to get so lost that you return to the flock because you don't know what the fuck to do with your freedom. That's what they're hoping for, right? You want to get off the plantation? Be our guest. And you get off the plantation. You have no idea how to live outside the plantation. And why? Because everybody parties on the weekend except for you, and you can't work on Sunday because everybody else is off Sunday, but you have to take Saturday off. And thus you got to go back to Babylon, or you're back on a work schedule that pleases the Lord. And then you just sit there circle jerking about whether you're living in sin or not. Because the whole world can't get with the program and have Sabbath on Saturday. Anyway. However, this differs from Rab's following statement: none is greater among penitents than Josiah in his time, and one in our own time. And who is he? Abba, the father of Jeremiah, be Abba. Others say, Aha, the brother of Abba, father of Jeremiah, be Abba. For he aforesaid, I almost read Afro said. That would have been funny. I would have been like, psh. Teacher said, Abba and Aha were brothers, said Yosef. There is yet another in our own time, and he is Ukban Bihanamaya, the exilarch. Once, while studying, said Yosef, I dozed off and saw in a dream an angel stretching out his hand and accepting his Ukban's repentance. There, we got through, and dude, how much good shit was there in the end, right? Like, we're supposed to be talking about all this Sabbath stuff, right? But the derailment of the conversations bring about all these interesting spiritual angles, and you probably have to understand what's going on in the Jewish world at the time to understand why such a seemingly disjointed question leads to such an answer that is both wrapped up in all this extracurricular aspects of their belief systems to get around to a very odd answer about which is the proper way to do something without angering the Lord. Right? So here's all the footnotes. Go through the footnotes here for you to pause and see. There will be a chapter 6 next. Regulations concerning what garments serving as ornaments women may go out with on the Sabbath. Oh, like I said, here's more grooming. I wonder how many times we're going to hear something that sounds like Islam pop up. This will be interesting. Women, I want women to tune into the next show. I'm going to tell women to tune into the next show. That's what I'm going to fucking do. Chapter 6. Women's Fascism. Anyway, and then I have to imagine to myself how the women enforce such a thing. Or do women enforce nothing? Like, as far, because, whether it's enforcing it on themselves or enforcing it on the men in the way some do, or at least influencing the men in the way I suppose all of them do. Anyway, it's all good. I'm gonna call it here for tonight. Has it been 3 hours? It's almost been 3 hours. 2 hours and 40 minutes, and that'll be fine. Because this was a good, solid... Actually, was it 2 hours and 40 minutes? Wait. Yeah. I'm looking at the clock up here. All right. Well, it was a lonely night tonight. Nobody popped in the chat room. But if you were listening, and allegedly 10 of you did, I hope you learned as much as I did tonight. All right. I'll catch you cats later.